Shields up, Ironbreakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Monster Hunter Stories 2. And today we're going to be talking about Update 2, which brings with it Kulve Taroth, Boltreaver Astalos, and Hellblade Glavenus. Now, in case you guys haven't yet finished the game, in case you guys are not yet at the end game of Monster Hunter Stories 2, I should warn you, I'm going to be showing you guys the armors of Kulve Taroth and maybe a couple of other monsties that you may not be aware in the game yet. So, if that's the kind of thing that bothers you, then, feel free to dip out and come back later to check out the video when you are at the end game. If you guys have just arrived at the end game and you're wondering what exactly should I be working on, what should I be doing, you should check out my other video where I explained all of the different systems that Monster Hunter Stories 2 has for the end game. I'm going to be trying to link that on the up right hand side of this video so that you guys can go check that out if you're curious. But anyways, let's talk about the 3 new additions to the roster, and let me just start off by saying that these are very welcome additions. These monsters are actually pretty fun. The Kulve Taroth quests, I'm going to be talking about it in a little bit more detail because there's a couple of things that I think are fun. There's a couple of things that I'm not the biggest fan of, but don't worry because it has nothing to do with like the RNG that we had in World. The current iteration of Kulve Taroth, because as you guys know, if you look at the roadmap, you'll know that there's going to be a higher difficulty version of Kulve Taroth later down the line. We still don't know exactly what that one is going to bring, but this one, it works very much like a regular monster. So you kill Kulve Taroth, you get her materials, and then you can come back and you can craft her weapons, you can craft her armor, and that's pretty much the stuff that you can get. So talking about weapons and armor, let's take a look at the 3 armors that we are going to be getting. I'm not going to be going over every single weapon. I will tell you guys a couple of things about them, but I'm not going to be like individually reviewing every single weapon because I just don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. But anyway, when it comes to Kulve Taroth, the armor that she's going to be bringing in is the Kulve Taroth Armor Plus. I'm not a huge fan of this particular armor. We have the skills Slugger, Soul Kinship L, and Health Boost L. So you're going to be increasing your maximum HP a little bit. Your kinship gauge fills up a little bit faster, and you have Slugger XL, normal attacks, inflict stun. Seriously increases chance of stun. It's like Slugger in Stories 2 is something that I've struggled with a little bit. If you guys watch my streams, you'll know that I've played around with Slugger on monsters, and it's kind of weird because it doesn't always work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I ended up like moving a little bit away from Slugger, and so I don't care too much about it. But hey, if you like the skill, there you go. Kulve Taroth comes in with Slugger XL, but overall, in terms of just like stats, it is not an armor that I like all that much. In terms of looks, it looks like you would expect. It looks like the male version of the Kulve Taroth armor. Naturally, the female version, as far as I'm aware, looks significantly better. So, if you play a female hunter, you might want to get this just for the layered armor, maybe, at least to have some options. But as a male hunter, it's not really something that seduces me all that much. Then we have the Hellblade armor, and I'm saving Boltreaver for last, but we have the Hellblade armor here, and this one I just flat out don't like. In terms of stats, in terms of looks, again, I think it looks fine. I think it looks good. I like the flames motif. You guys know I'm big into flames, explosions, all that kinds of stuff. But, what do we have here? We have tenacity, survive a hit that would have otherwise been fatal when HP is 50 or more. It's like, sure, fine, I guess. Heroics XL seriously boosts attack at 50% HP or less. I'm not a big fan of being below 50% HP, even though I tend to do it quite often when I engage in head-to-heads with my gun lance like a complete maniac, but, it's not really a skill that I try to shoot for. Then we have Bombardier L, which, while I do like it, I would much prefer to have Bombardier XL, so overall, I was disappointed with the Hellblade armor in terms of stats, but feel free to disagree with me in the comment sections. I know that the good thing about each of these armors is that they might appeal to a different aspect of, somebody's playstyle. So if you like it, that's great. Don't kill me over it or anything, okay? So next up, we have the Boltreaver. Now, Boltreaver armor actually looks really sexy to me personally because we got Soul Kinship. Kinship gauge fills up incredibly fast. We got Vicious L, greatly increases head-to-head damage, as well as Partner L, which makes kinship gauge feel faster if you are at 50% HP or less. So I don't know, I think that this one actually looks more interesting, even though I'm not sure as a Gunlance user if this is going to end up beating up Grimclaw armor. And I know that I've been mostly using Basel, but you know, today I was talking with my streaming guys like, you should check out Grimclaw for Gunlance, and I was like, I guess I will. So it's like, I don't know if this is going to beat out for Gunlance, but if you're looking to get your kinship filled up a little bit faster, then Boltreaver armor might just be for you. In terms of the new armors that were added into the game, Boltreaver is definitely the one that I like the most. Now, as I said, I will talk a little bit about weapons as well, but I'm not really going to go into too much detail. But like an easy way to look at Hellblade weapons, for instance, is to basically say, you know, the Hellblade version of the weapons are going to have more raw damage at the cost of a little bit less Blast Blight than Teostra. So, you know, like you got Teostra over here at 122 122 fire damage and 21% Blast Blight. And then you have the Magma Hellblade coming in at 127 with 15% Blast Blight. But the thing is, the Hellblade Glavenus weapons look friggin' amazing. Personally, I love the look of these weapons, always have, always will. And then to top it off, as you guys may or may not be aware, when it comes to gun lances, quite simply, we had one gun lance that had blast. And even though Basilgeuse is my favorite monster in the whole game, the Basil Buster leaves a lot to be desired, both in terms of design and in terms of stats, because this weapon of this monster that just looks like a big chunk of armor and the weapon is made out of bone, I still don't understand that design decision. But anyway, you know, Basil Buster is kind of weak overall, so now we have the Powder Keg Brewer as a blast option for gun lance, and obviously I already crafted it because it's just one of my favorite looking gun lances to begin with. It is the gun lance that I use in GU, and I'm happy to now use it in Stories 2 as well. So very, very happy about the Hellblade Glavenus weapons. And like I said, if you compare it to other options, it's just more raw, less Blast Blight, so just pick your poison, whichever one you prefer. When it comes to Taroth, it varies between ice damage and water damage depending on the weapon. Like the Taroth arrow is even thunder. I was actually not aware. Most of them I thought were ice and water, but yeah, as you can see, we have two waters here, and then when it comes to the Taroth Blaze, another water. That's weird. Only the bow is lightning, but, you know, I'm actually using the Taroth Slicer because it's got pretty good water damage. I think it actually deals more damage than Mizutsune's. So I'm actually starting to craft elemental weapons in Stories 2, by the way, which is something I haven't talked about too much, but the reasoning behind that is because elemental weapons actually deal a lot of damage in this game, especially when compared with mainline Monster Hunter, where elemental damage is most of the time not the most optimal way to play. We all know this for most weapons anyway. And in Stories 2, it's very different, let me tell you. Like, at least with Sword and Shield, I've been kicking so much ass ever since I started just like using elemental opposites, which is something that I started using particularly today so that I could more efficiently farm out stuff like Hellblade Glavenus and not really Boltreaver, because I didn't really farm Boltreaver, but, you know, to farm out Hellblade Glavenus and to beat the crap out of Kulve Taroth. It just felt so good when I got my first kill on Kulve Taroth. Not because I had to try too much, because it's not a particularly hard encounter, but basically I finished Kulve Taroth off with like nearly 4,000 crit damage with a level 1 hammer, and I was like, ooh. So elemental damage is kind of a big deal and something that you'll want to think about. But anyways, Taroth weapons, you know, they have a little bit of elemental damage. They're not necessarily top of the line for every single weapon, but like I said, in terms of water damage for Sword and Shields, they're pretty good. And I was thinking that maybe Kulve Taroth weapons would potentially be upgraded with the higher difficulty version that is coming later down the line, but, you know, Stories 2 doesn't really work like that. At least not up until this point. You know, you craft the weapon, then you upgrade it a certain number of times. In high rank, it happens to be 5 times, and then you're kind of done. So I think that the higher difficulty Kulve Taroth is going to have its own version of weapons and its own armor that is probably going to be more powerful than the current one. So the current Kulve Taroth does not feel like it's a big deal. It's just something for you to do, and we'll talk about the quest itself in just a few minutes here. But yeah, in terms of Boltreaver though, Boltreaver is weird in terms of its weapons because you have like 2 weapons, which is the hunting horn, the Zephyr Wingbeat, and then you have a bow, which was, where was it? Zephyr Gust. And I don't think you have anything else because I've been looking and I couldn't find any other weapon for Boltreaver. So yeah, you get like 2 weapons with Boltreaver, and that's pretty much it, which kind of sucks because I really wanted to do like a Boltreaver sword and shield. I think that would be really, really powerful for thunder damage, which would be very useful for people to go and do Kulve Taroth. But so far, not available. Not sure if that is something they're considering adding later or not, but probably not. He just gets 2 weapons. So Boltreaver, not particularly impressive, but hey, if you like bows or hunting horns, then yeah, you're going to get a new weapon with Boltreaver, and it's actually pretty good because it's got a lot of crit rate, and, you know, it does thunder damage. So if you're into that, then yeah, these are probably going to be for you, and they're probably going to be really good. Actually, the bow doesn't even deal that much, but it's got rapid fire power coating. I don't know a damn thing about bows, though. I haven't played bow at all. Anyways, you guys might be wondering, okay, so how do I actually get around doing these quests? Like, what's the dealio? Because I myself was wondering how is DLC going to be working in Stories 2? Because sure, we got the quest for Doggo, but, you know, I wasn't sure how they were going to do the rest of it. And the way that it works is, once again, these are multiplayer quests, so just remember you can still solve them. You go to local play, and then you just choose the quest, and then you go in and you start the quest, and you go in with an NPC, right? So the 3 quests that were added is Goddess of Gold, which is the Kulve Taroth quest, as you can see right here, the Fire Eggs quest, and this is where you can fight Hellblade Glavenus and also get Hellblade Glavenus eggs, and Thunder Eggs, which is where you can fight Boltreaver Astalos and also get Boltreaver eggs. Now, there's going to be higher chances of you getting Boltreaver and Hellblade Glavenus eggs if you go into super rare dens, obviously. So if you use super rare tickets, which you need expedition tickets to do the Fire Eggs and Thunder Eggs quests. So obviously, if you have the SR, you're going to be able to get the monsties, and you're going to be able to get good genes, hopefully, on them. And the thing is, though, I've heard from some people that they've been very unlucky with getting them. Me, personally, I haven't really had a problem. I go in there, I get this stuff, it's pretty much easy. No real problems there, but, you know, I've heard from some people that they're struggling to actually get the eggs of these deviant monsties, so your mileage may vary there. If you are looking to just farm these monsties for their materials, remember that you can just launch these expeditions with normal expedition tickets and then just run straight to the end, fight the monster, get the parts. I say this because I've been farming a lot of Hellblade Glavenus parts naturally to get my gun lance and stuff like that all fixed up. And I haven't fought too much Boltreaver. And let me tell you right now, in my opinion, Boltreaver is the hardest one. I've only fought him once. But Boltreaver hits like a truck. Like, Hellblade Glavenus he's just like not even a challenge. You go up to Hellblade Glavenus, you'll beat the crap out of him. If you've beaten regular Glavenus, his patterns are pretty much the same with a couple of new things here and there. But it's like, he's super easy. Boltreaver is going to throw a bunch of curveballs at you, and every now and then he's just going to pull a spell out of his ass that's just going to one-shot you and your monstie and, you know, your NPC and your NPC's monstie. So it can get pretty friggin' wild, okay? So keep that in mind. And then we have the Goddess of Gold. And the way that this particular quest works is you have to kill a Brachydios as well as an Astalos, and only then you can go face against the Golden Gal. Well, not necessarily, though, because you can go straight for Kulve Taroth instead and then go kill Brachydios and Astalos, but the quest only counts as completed if you kill all 3 monsters. And you guys are like, huh, that's kind of weird, but you haven't heard the best yet, because the best news is that this quest has a 30-minute limit. And, you know, from my experience with some people in the community, when they're given a little bit tighter limits, like Alatreon and Fatalis, people tend to not like that, and I understand it can be frustrating, particularly if you have to do it solo, because let me tell you, when I tried doing it solo for the first time, my NPC just up and died. Because, you know, Kulve Taroth goes like, I'm real mad, I'm enraged. But you guys know, a lot of monsters, when they enrage, they start going with power attacks. And my NPC was like, hey, she's enraged. Time for me to go technical. And yeah, that didn't really work out very well for she died. She died real bad. She died. She failed the quest for us. Because we were actually winning. We were actually still on track to potentially beat her the very first time I did the quest. And we ended up losing. But anyways, this particular quest, I haven't really tested it out too much in solo because I just beat her once. I'm not really interested in doing her armor or even that many of her weapons, although I did craft her sword and shield, so I might have to go farm her some more. But the strategy that I would recommend is probably try to go with players. That is probably going to be easier if you're able to do that. If you're not, then you're going to have to stick with NPCs. But if you're able to get a friend to go along, the strategy that I'd recommend is split up at the start. Because if you go left, there's an Astalos. If you go right on the map, there's Brachydios. So, you know, just assign, I'll go left, you go right, or something like that to a friend, and you will both attack these two at the same time, and then converge back in on Kulve Taroth. And then, you know, after you defeat her the first time, follow her into the next thing and kill her. And basically my second attempt, we did gold instantly because the person playing with me knew how to handle himself, and we just beat the crap out of it. It was not that hard. A couple of recommendations here from me is get yourself a ice hammer. I would recommend Velkhana's hammer because for the final phase, that is going to come in handy. It's really going to help you out with the redonkulous amount of damage you're able to do, and if you're able to actually win a couple of head-to-heads, you're going to be able to charge it up and then do the really big part breaker thing on her, which is what I did, just like 4,000 crit damage, pretty good. But yeah, so ice hammer, really good, and then thunder weapons for the first phase, also pretty good. So the way that I did it is I had a thunder sword and shield for the first phase because everything is vulnerable to slashing damage on Kulve Taroth. If you're using piercing, only the tail, because the legs are slashing, I think. I don't even know if you can use hammer because I haven't really tested it. But, you know, the idea was I brought in a thunder sword and shield for that first phase, and then I had an ice hammer for the second phase because I don't think she's vulnerable to piercing at all during the second phase, so I didn't really get to use my gun lance. But it's okay, I'm used to it. I'm used to not being able to use my gun lance. It happens pretty much all the time because most monsters are actually not vulnerable to piercing. God knows why. But, you know, it's not that hard. I would heavily recommend use elemental damage because up until this point, I've just been fighting with whatever, not really paying that much attention to elemental. And let me tell you guys, in Stories 2, elemental is pretty beast. Very surprisingly so. For a Monster Hunter title, the element to be this good. At least that's my thoughts on it. But overall, pretty good update. I still have quite a bit of stuff that I want to farm on it, but I just wanted to keep you guys up to date with what is going down with the game. So hopefully this helps you out in any way. And go out there, play, enjoy the update. And, you know, like I said, I would recommend doing multiplayer for Kulve and splitting up at the start if you want to get the quick finish. Just do remember the expedition ticket reward that is there for SR tickets and bottle caps and all those rewards you only get once. So once you finish it, you know, you can go back and you can kill Kulve more, but you're not going to keep getting expedition tickets SR, because that's what I was thinking. I was like, dude, this is actually pretty easy to farm SR expedition tickets on Kulve if you have a friend to play with you. But as it turns out, no. It's not going to work that way. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, hit it up with a like. If you did not enjoy it, hit it up with a dislike. Feedback is important. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong. Stay safe. Peace out.